What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Happy Friday, everybody. We're all kind of climbing in here right now. So that's good. Let me start getting my screens all set up for the presentation. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, Sharon, Latricia. Nice to see you, ladies. I'll say this multiple times throughout this. If you guys have a camera, I love seeing faces. I love seeing smiles and frowns and all that kind of stuff. So if you guys do have a camera, I would love to just interact with you guys. What's up, Dom? How you doing, buddy? John, nice to see you, sir. So guys, if you're not aware, if you haven't been in some of our previous Zooms for the past couple of weeks, we've been kind of intentionally building out somewhat of a series. And that series are all of the modules within the investor semester. And what I want to do is, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make available for this Freshman Friday for everyone that joins us, whether it's your first time or you've been here multiple times or you're already a student. I want to make this education available for everybody, right? That's my ultimate goal. And so hold on real fast. Let me remove this. There we go. So we still have more people coming in, but while we wait, who here is new? If you guys put in the chat real quick, if you're new, if you've never been to one of these calls before, I'd love to say hello. Ivan, awesome, man. So Ivan, absolute pleasure to have you here. And again, everybody that's new, my name's Jeremy Davis, and I founded the Investor Semester. And really, I came from, I'll tell more once I start the presentation. I'll go into more background about me and what I've done, and hopefully I'm qualified to teach you guys a little something. But yeah, like I said, what I realize is that AI is now making education so accessible on a free standpoint that I want to make education more available from a community standpoint. Right? I want to be able to help you guys whether you're new or whether you're experienced. I built multiple 7-figure wholesale operations, and I've got a multi-million-dollar portfolio all around creative finance. And so my goal is to be able to help you guys do the same and actually be able to ask real questions. Because AI, we all know, AI can give a lot of really good answers, but sometimes it hallucinates. It doesn't know how to talk to sellers. It doesn't know how to negotiate correctly. So that's what this is all about. So we're kind of, what time are we at? We're a few minutes past. So like I said, guys, if you're new here, this call, put it on your calendars. We do this every single Friday. This Friday though, however, is a little bit more of a special occasion. This is going to be more of a deep dive into KPIs and metrics and marketing. And so, as I said before, if you guys were on last week or the week before, 2 weeks ago, we went into discovering your primary avatar, whether you're going to be a visionary or you're going to be an integrator. All right. And that's going to start to determine how you start to build your business. And that was based off of a book called Rocket Fuel. Rocket Fuel, I'll kind of recap real fast. Rocket Fuel is a book that identifies your personality traits and who you are within a business. All right. And myself, I'm a visionary. I'm 100% visionary, but when I first started this business, I considered myself to be a hybrid. And why is that? It's because I was focused on some of the integrator side of the business, like building out spreadsheets and building out my software, because that's what I had to do. I didn't have a team member for that yet. I had no delegation yet. So I was forced to be in that position. So in the beginning, I was a hybrid. But once you start to actually scale your business and you scale your operation, you can start hiring other people and start delegating out those tasks. And then once I did that, I realized I am so far from an integrator. I was forcing myself to believe that I enjoyed doing that. And I was lying to myself until I realized that I'm a visionary. I drive the train and the integrator lays the tracks for the train. So that was 2 weeks ago. Then this last week, we went into the conveyor belt. And the conveyor belt is your specific seats in an investment operation. And we went into the first seat being all about lead generation. Okay. So lead gen. Then the second seat was lead follow-up. The third seat was acquisitions. The fourth seat was transaction coordination. And finally, the fifth seat was closing or disposition. Okay. Like actually getting the deal over the finish line, finding the buyer and all that stuff. So what I really wanted to hammer into everybody on that last call was the most important seat on that conveyor belt, hands down, is the lead generation, generating leads. If you are not generating leads, you don't have a business. The leads are the diet that feeds your business. And without a proper diet, your business will eventually starve. And so we really wanted to focus on the lead generation side of things. And now in this call, in this Zoom, we're going to be breaking down marketing. We're going to be breaking down marketing of what is working right now in today in 2026, what was working beforehand, what is working now, and where we are closing multiple deals and our students are also closing multiple deals. So does that make sense to everybody here? Yeah? Cool. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's get into it. Ivan, thank you, buddy. And again, guys, you don't have to turn on your camera, but if you want to participate, if you do have a camera and you have your makeup on and you look pretty enough, I'd love to see your faces. It means a lot to me. So, all right, guys, let me share my screen. All right. You guys let me know that you're seeing this, right? Marketing lead flow reset. Cool. Awesome, guys. All right, let me make sure that this works. Okay, perfect. All right. So, guys, listen up. This is the marketing lead flow reset. This is the deep dive that separates I'm trying from I'm actually scaling. And I'm warning you guys up front that this is not supposed to be emotional. This is not about fantasy. This is actual pure logic. And from a business operator standpoint, we do not want to make decisions based off of emotion, right? Duh. Okay. We want to make decisions based off of metrics, based off of numbers. If you don't know the numbers of your business, you don't know how your business is performing. That's pretty obvious. Like that's, again, logical. I want you guys by the end of this to reprogram your brain into making actual logical decisions as a business owner should. Once you guys give me 25 to 30 minutes, you're going to stop guessing, hopefully, and you're going to talk about the previous workshops that, as I said, with lead generation, moving into deciding if you're an integrator or a visionary, and then going from there. Okay. So let's go to the next slide. So my why. I want to talk about really quickly my background. Some of you guys, some of my students, you guys already know all about me. Some of you guys that are here for the very first time, I'm Jeremy Davis. I founded the Investor Semester. I founded it probably about 1.5 to 2 years ago. But prior to that point, I started in real estate back in 2012. And more specifically, going back in further time, 2010, massive motorcycle wreck. I was riding in the canyons of Malibu. I got hit head on by a Harley who crossed the double yellows, hits me head on and sends me 150 feet off the cliff. I broke my back, my shoulders, my arms. I basically completely destroyed myself. I got airlifted out and I had about 2 years of recovery. Through that 2 years, lot of rehabilitation, lot of painkiller addiction, but I also started learning more about real estate. And if you remember, 2008, we had the collapse. 2010, we kind of hit the bottom. 2012, we were climbing out of it. And 2012, I said, it's time for me to get into real estate. I had money saved up. I had decent enough credit. But what I didn't have was I didn't have work history. I was on disability for 2 years. So some of you guys have heard this story, but what did I do? What do you do when you want to buy real estate? You go to the first person that you think is the most qualified, and that is typically a real estate agent, right? Well, we know now, if I knew then what I know now, I would know that real estate agents know just about as much as a Costco person handing out samples. They just read the back of the label and they can just tell you just enough about that property. They don't really understand investing. And if, by the way, if you are an agent and you understand investing or you're here to learn more about investing, I appreciate you. You are not one of those agents. Okay. So anyway, so I went to a few different agents and they all told me the same thing. They said, you're not able to get a loan because you have cash, you've got good credit, but you don't have the work history. And because of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all the regulations that got put in place after 2008, you can't buy a house. But what you should do is you should go back and maybe serve tables, be a server, be a bartender, start getting a W-2. And so I did that. And I went back to serving tables back in 2012. And I just grinded. I just grinded the daily, hey, you know what, I'm making my paycheck and I'm making my tips. But what I started doing is I also started dabbling in a little bit more real estate. I was doing maybe 1 or 2 deals a year, not a month, but 1 or 2 deals a year, making an extra, I don't know, $25,000 to $50,000 a year, either bird dogging or flipping or lending some money out. So like in the chat, guys, would $25,000 to $50,000 extra per year just kind of move the needle in the direction you're looking for? Most of you guys would say yes, right? And so what I started doing after that is I became a chef. I became a sommelier. I started moving my way up in Beverly Hills till eventually 2019 hits. And that's when COVID hits and everything shuts down. That's when I went all in. That was my pivotal moment that I said, I was trying to get into real estate back in 2012 and I needed to make a change. So I'm making that change today. I basically looked on a map, I spun a globe, and I made a logical, not an emotional, I made a logical decision on where I should move. And I left Los Angeles because it sucked during COVID. Los Angeles sucked. There was all the riots and all that stuff. And I decided to move to Utah. I moved to Salt Lake City. I'm not Mormon. I just, you know what? Quality of life. I love the outdoors, all of those kinds of things. But I also logically looked at a map and I said, if other people are going to be immigrating out of California and Oregon and Washington, and they're going to be looking for more conservative states to get away from a lot of the bullshit that COVID was creating, where would they move? And I looked at the map and I was like, oh, they're going to move to Boise, Idaho. They're going to move to Phoenix, Arizona, and they're going to all of them are going to combine in Salt Lake. And behind Salt Lake was a backstop, which was Denver, which is another liberal city, which means that they probably would stop moving east from that direction. And I made the decision to move to Salt Lake. Salt Lake was the fastest appreciating market during COVID. It grew. We made so much money here. I made a lot of money wholesaling here in Salt Lake City. Our average appreciation, if we held on to a property for 6 months and did nothing to it, nothing, we would make between $50,000 to $150,000 in appreciation by doing nothing to it. So anyway, I started building a portfolio. I started dabbling deeper in creative finance. And who here knows who Pace Morby is? You guys know? Have you seen that name at all? I joined Sub2 in the very beginning, and I became his #1 leader. I ran multiple regions across the nation. I also built out his entire communication platform for all of his students. What I built facilitated what we estimated about $2.5 billion in revenue between deals being done between students. On top of that, I also started JV with JD, so joint venture with Jeremy Davis. So I was doing hundreds and hundreds of deals with other students and helping them get their very first deal over the finish line. Okay, so I did that for a long time. For 5 years, I was deep in Sub2. I was really building out that community and helping Pace build out his vision. But there was something that I consistently saw that always disappointed me, was that a lot of people join Sub2 with what we call uninformed optimism. They maybe watched some videos on YouTube and they thought to themselves, this is going to be easy. And they learned very quickly that it was not as easy as YouTube made it seem. And there was not a lot of structured education. There was a lot of shiny objects. There were a lot of distractions. It was a lot of, I guess you can say, a lot of guppies swimming around in a pond, chasing each other's tail, while a few different sharks were eating up those guppies. And that's something that I wanted to change. And so the investor semester for me, whenever I got on phone calls with students, I was always very intentional. The saying is, gurus are there to lift your head into the clouds. I am there to slam you back down to earth. My job is to teach you the metrics. My job is to teach you this business. I don't want to see people quit. I don't want to see the burnout rate. And the truth is, in communities like that, you're going to see anywhere from an 85 to a 95% burnout rate where people don't do deals. When you're seeing people that are, oh my God, I'm doing deals, that is the 5% of the 20,000 people that aren't. Okay. So as I said, that's about my wins, my portfolio, the things I've grown through and the trials and the tribulations, and why I'm really trying to build out the investor semester. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. Like, does anyone here, I saw Adrian, you're a Sub2 member. Alex, thank you. Sub2 Discord was the best. I appreciate that. Yeah, they actually shut down the Discord for various reasons, which also damaged a lot of my business as well, because I was doing a lot of deals with students. And when they shut that down, it was kind of like, what do I do now? And so that's when I went really all in on direct to seller off market, which again, this is what the call is all about. So anyway, any questions so far, guys? Any comments? Any unmutes? Anything like that? If not, I'll keep going. Okay. So as I was saying, so what I really want to go into right now is, does anyone know what a death calculator is? Does anyone know? This is a fun one. Okay, so a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, Kent Clothier. Kent Clothier runs a really large mastermind called The Boardroom. And Kent, I've spent well over $100,000 to be in that room. Kent has what he calls the death calculator. And I love this. And I want to go through this with you guys. It's kind of like a live exercise. This death calculator is going to help you realize how many more mornings or estimated mornings you guys have left in your life. And I think it's really important because I do these meetings every single week, and I've got my students every single week that I work with. And a lot of the times I hear fear is a major distraction from actually taking action. Okay. And so what I want to do right now is I want you guys to do this with me. Okay. You'll see right here that the average years for a man is about 76 years. Average for a woman is about 81. I want you guys to really quickly take that number. If you're a woman, put in 81. If you're a man, put in 76. Subtract how you are old today, how old you are today. Okay. And then I want you to divide that by 365. And I want you to put in the chat, how many estimated mornings do you guys have left on this earth? Again, take the averages. I'll go back one more time. 76 if you're a man, 81 if you're a woman. Subtract your age, and then divide that number by 365. Dom, 8,395. Let me see a few more, guys. I know, 8,395. Come on, some of you guys are doing math, right? Hey, Alex, look at you. You're half the age of Dom. Okay, we got 9,000. We've got 18,000. Guys, this is sobering, just as Dom said, okay? This is how many mornings you guys have left. When I see 18,000, I get jealous. I'm like, oh my God, you got so much more time than I do. But I want you guys to start taking action today. If there's anything that you guys can take from this, I want you to write that down. For me, I have that on my bathroom mirror, and I have a dry erase marker, and I put that number every single day, and I subtract 1 every single day to remind me that I cannot live my life based around fear. Okay? Brad, you have 5 days left. All right. So, and Sharon, you've got 5,000. So for someone like Sharon compared to Ignacio, Sharon is probably going, holy fuck, I need to make a better change. I need to make something different in my life happen. If I don't do it, I'm just living day by day and just going through there. And so hopefully, again, by the end of these meetings, you guys are going to be able to take action. Okay. So as I was saying, that is the death calculator. And maybe I should call it the life calculator. But I think it's important for you guys to be able to go into this, okay? So how many mornings do you have left? Write that down, save that number, put it on your bathroom mirror. So the promise that I want to walk away with from this, Irene says, hey, Jeremy, are you still accepting? Yes, Irene, if you were here on the last call, I am accepting people on the wait list. You know what, Ava? If you could put the link right here, guys, I'm going to go into this at the end of this. If you guys are thinking about joining the next semester that starts next week, I'll go into it in more detail here at the very end. Is that okay with you guys? So yeah, there's a link. If you guys want to put your name on there, I will reach out to each and every one of you guys, and I'll schedule a time that we'll hop on a call. And at bare minimum, it'll be a 15-minute strategy call where I'll pour into you guys, and at maximum, and it seems like the right fit, you guys can become a student. Okay. So anyway, as I was saying, the promise now that I want to prime you guys with is to take action at bettering your life. In this workshop, it's going to be my job to remove the confusion and actually create a clear path for you guys moving forward. If you understand what I'm about to show you guys, you actually can stop guessing. You'll know how to pick the right market and the right campaign. You'll stop wasting money on garbage lead sources, and you'll build a pipeline instead of living deal to deal. If you guys have done a deal, oh, thank you, Ava. I totally forgot. If you guys want, we have a workbook that goes with this PowerPoint. If you guys want to download that right now, this is able to take notes. You guys can come back to this if you guys want. And I'll also send you guys the recording after this if you guys want to go through it with the workbook together. So as I said, if you've done a deal, you already know that it's not a consistent thing. Once you've done your first deal, it's all about proof of concept.
Right. Oh,
Whoa, who's
I
unmuted?
get it from you. Yeah, huh?
Okay, there we go. So as I said, if you've done your first deal, you already know that you've got your proof of concept, but finding the consistency, finding the 1 deal a month, the 2 deals a month, to be able to get to consistent 6-digit months like I've achieved multiple times, you actually have to have a system built out around that, okay? So if you're still looking for your first, this can help you get to your goal even faster. And if you've already done your first, this is going to give you the right mindset on actually finding that consistency, okay, guys? So puppies versus the big dogs. This is the separator right here. Marketing is a business, period. And tactics, honestly, they don't really matter if your logic is wrong. If you can have the best cold callers, you can have the best script, you can have the best CRM, the best ads, and you're still going to be broke if the logic is wrong. What marketing actually is, here's the real definition of marketing in this business. It's finding the right seller at the right time with the right message. If any of those are off, you're going to spend a lot of time or money or both, and you're going to really get nothing back. The 2 marketing paths that you guys are going to take here, there's only really 2 lanes. And I've talked about this before to my previous students, but I'll talk to you guys about it right now. You've got your sweat equity, which is time heavy, and then you've got your traditional marketing, which is money heavy. One costs you hours, the other one costs you dollars. Either way, you're paying for something, and you have to make the decision now on what that's going to be. So different examples of sweat equity. Sweat equity marketing is like outreach, networking, relationships, agent connections, and basically anything where you're trading your personal effort to create opportunities. This is how almost everybody starts, and it works, but it has its limits. And I'm going to explain to that right now. When we talk about outbound, okay, we talk about cold calling or SMS. When you're putting in sweat equity, it's you making those cold calls. It's you sending out those text messages. The next step after sweat equity is maybe you have a virtual assistant that's making the cold calls for you. That's the path I want to get you guys out of as fast as possible, which is the sweat equity path. Sweat equity straight up is going to keep you broke. I mean that. If you guys don't have money, I totally understand. And the sweat equity path is the path that you have to take. But if you have money that is saved or put aside and you're actually looking to build out a marketing business, getting out of that sweat equity path is the fastest thing you can do to start actually scaling your business effectively. All right. So traditional examples of marketing, traditional marketing is ads, postcards, and paid lead generation. Ignacio says, I've never thought about it like that. Exactly right. Like, I'll be honest. A lot of the gurus out there, they make wholesaling seem like it's very doable without your own money, without your own credit. And it is, quotations, it is possible, but it's not scalable. It is possible to get your very first deal. Like Cortland Brown, one of my students, I see his name down here. His very first or second call he ever made, Cortland, you don't have to unmute yourself. I'm just going to call you out right now. His very first or second call he made, he closed a deal and made, I forgot what you said, bro, like 20 grand, something like that. I don't even remember what you said, but you made money. You made money on your first or second call. And that is what the gurus put out there to YouTube. If I was an unethical coach, I'd be like, Cortland just got his first deal after making 2 phone calls. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not, because that's not the truth of this business. The truth of this business is if you're cold calling, it's going to be hundreds, if not thousands of phone calls and dials, hundreds of conversations, hundreds of follow-up. Like that's what this business is all about. If you think that this is easy, wake up call. Sorry. I'm handing you the red pill right now, right? I'm forcing it down your throat. Jacqueline says, sorry, is it just me? You sound far away. I'm straining my ear. I don't think so. Everyone's saying fine? Jacqueline, maybe turn up the volume on your computer or your phone. Yeah. And by the way, I always want to say Jake Quellen. Sorry. If you ever saw that skit. All right. So volume is good. Wait, Sharon, low volume for you too? What? I don't know what to say. I'm looking at my things right now, all that stuff. Everything should be good. Okay. I apologize, ladies, if you're not able to hear me correctly. I maybe pop out, pop back in, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, so let's keep going. All right. So as I was saying, when it comes to traditional marketing, you guys are doing things like running traditional ads. This is postcards. This is paid lead generation. You're paying to create inbound demand, or at least you're paying to create volume. And the goal is to buy your time back. That's the most expensive thing. Carol, you said, is it expensive? I think the fear is to put a lot of money and I don't have any sale. You know what? I'm going to go into literally that here in just a second here. But that's the whole purpose of knowing your sales process. That's the whole purpose of knowing your system and your operations. And I'm going to go into that for sure in just a second. Okay. So, the next fork that we want to talk about, once we figure out whether it's going to be sweat equity or it's going to be traditional marketing, the next fork, this is what matters more than people realize, is where the deal source comes from, whether it's on market versus off market. Right now, guys, I've already asked this in previous Zooms, but I'm curious. Who here is only doing on market? So you're on Zillow, you're talking to agents. Who here is, so if you're doing that, say on. If you're only doing off market, say off. And if you're doing a hybrid, say both. Dom is doing both, off, on, both, on mostly. So I'm going to speak to the people that are doing on market. The people that are doing on market, I hate to say this, you're doing it because the barrier of entry is lower. Open up Zillow, find a property. There's the agent's phone number. You don't have to skip trace. You can use your own personal cell phone. And it's by law, it is their fiduciary responsibility to answer the phone and even present the offers to their clients. It makes it a lot easier. And this is also where a lot of gurus try to get a lot of new people to start because, again, the barrier of entry is very, very low. If you're off market, you have to understand what marketing is. You have to understand what pulling a list might mean, or stacking your data, or skip tracing, or what script you're going to start on, right? And as it was mentioned here a second ago, like, is this expensive? You're afraid to spend the money because you don't have the system. That's because you maybe haven't been taught the correct way to do it yet. All right. So as I said, on market versus off market question. Do most wholesalers eventually go fully off market? Most successful wholesalers go off market. And I'm going to explain where on market or working with agents actually does pay off. So there is a payoff there, but it's not about dealing with on market properties. So on market versus off market, that choice changes your margins, your speed, your competition, and primarily, ultimately, your stress. My stance, as I just explained it, I am not an on market guy. My stance is simple. On market is for base hits. Getting a home run with on market deals are mostly going to just be luck. Can you get them? Sure. But if your business model depends on home runs from the MLS, you're basically just gambling. You can never guarantee that. For me, what our average, you know what our average assignment fee is here in Salt Lake? $51,000. $51,000. Okay. And that's because I'm primarily off market. Now, would an average of $51,000 be possible in, say, Indianapolis or Detroit, Michigan? The answer is no. Do you want to know why the difference is? Again, thinking from a logical perspective, the reason is because the average sale price from a property here, a median price property, is roughly about $550,000 here in Salt Lake. If there's a house that you're buying in Gary, Indiana, some of you guys know this. If you're a student, you know my very first deal that I ever did was in Gary, Indiana. Okay. I bought a 3-bed, 2-bath home, single family residence. Guess, if you guys know the number, you're not allowed to say it in the chat. What do you think I bought a 3-bed, 2-bath house for in Gary, Indiana for? Price, put it in the chat. What do you think? 3-bed, 2-bath, single family home. 80 grand, 125, 50, $45 or 45K, $2,200, guys. $2,200. Gary, Indiana is a freaking war zone. Nobody wants to own in Gary, Indiana. So buying the property, getting the property under contract Really, really easy. Some of you have heard me say this before. On my very first deal, I wanted to lose my virginity. So if I want to lose my virginity, where am I going to go? Am I going to go to find the hottest girl at the bar? Or am I going to find the I'm not going to say the crack whore. I'm going to find the easiest thing I can do. And that was Gary, Indiana. Okay. There was a time that there was 27 homes that were burned to the ground overnight and nobody even cared. Some arson just lit a bunch of houses on fire. So I got that property for $2,200 and then I sold it to a buyer for $6,600. I made $4,400. Am I able to make $51,000 if a house cost me 22 grand or 2,200? No, I'm not. So it comes in relation, right? So if an average sale price for a home is $500,000 to $600,000, all I really have to do is find a seller that's willing to drop their price by 10%. What does that equal? That equals about $50,000. Makes sense, right? Now, if the average median price is, let's say, $200,000, then it might be a $20,000 spread. Or if you're in Los Angeles, where every house is literally $1 million, you could easily make 100 grand. Okay. I'll show you this right here. Hold on. Okay. The very first time that I shared this on Facebook, I actually got banned on Facebook for a year. This is a $200,000 profit deal that was off market here in Salt Lake. Okay. To be specific, $199,643.76. This was all possible because of off market. And also I use creative finance and all that other stuff. But my whole point to this is that only came to me because of off market inbound leads. Okay. So as I said before, I am not an on market guy. And I just talked about here, like where the home runs come from. I'll just kind of skip ahead. It comes from that. It comes from being able to talk to the correct distressed seller, the right person at the right time with the right message. All right. And when you are talking to people on market, they typically don't have the same motivation. Will we agree with that? If they have the time to wait 3 to 6 months for their house to sell, are they in a rush or an urgency to sell? Some of them might want to sell quicker, but what are we seeing primarily on market right now? We're seeing low equity and no equity deals. And they can't sell because they can't drop their price anymore because their mortgage is too high and the price of the property dropped. So they're stuck holding a falling knife. And some people might say that creative finance, like Subject 2, are a way to buy those properties. But I say right away, the cardinal rule of being an investor, guys, rule number 1, you make your money when you buy. And if you are buying a property that has little to no equity and you get caught with an air conditioning that goes out and you're not making any cash flow on that, please don't do that. Please, please, please don't do that. I don't want to talk about co-living right now, but if you guys know about co-living and pad split, that's a main reason why co-living is becoming so popular, is because people are buying properties on market that have little to no equity, that are overpriced, that their mortgage rate is higher than what the rental rates are. So it will never be a cash flowing rental. And the only way they can make it perform is by turning that single family home into a multi-family motel, opening up as many rooms as possible and renting it out by the room. You guys know my hatred for that. I think it's terrible. I think it's bad. That's why every single property in my portfolio, I don't have one Airbnb. I don't have one midterm rental. I don't have one co-living. All of my properties are long-term rentals. And granted, do I have as many doors as someone else that has no restrictions and they have no way of saying no in their brains? Maybe not. Maybe I have less doors. But all of my doors, they appreciate. They're making positive cash flow every single month. And my properties are gaining me millions and millions of dollars over the next few years. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah, Dylan. Yeah, I'll send you the recording, bro. Send me a DM. And I'll say, once we get it uploaded, I'll send it to you. Okay. So as I was saying, the gatekeeper problem is then you have the gatekeeper problem. So agents can also block your deals. I'll talk about that just for a second. Low cash offers get filtered before they ever hit the seller, and creative offers get misunderstood and never, ever presented correctly. So you're not negotiating with the seller. You're negotiating with a middleman. Why agents block? Simple. It's why does this happen? Ego and fear. Is there anyone here's an agent here? I'm just curious. Ivan, you asked, should beginners even spend time checking the MLS? Yeah, sure. If you're broke, if you have no money, it's not a problem to start practicing having conversations. But at the end of this, I'm actually going to have a solution for that. So stick around on that. Okay. But yeah, it's about practice. It's honestly about practice. Should you be trying to build your entire business with on-market deals? Absolutely not. And I'll say this, side note, bird dogging. Who here knows what bird dogging is or think they know what bird dogging is? Okay. Bird dogging, up until about a year ago, the definition of bird dogging was a bird dog is someone who is going to find a lead and bring it to an investor, and the investor helps close the deal, get it over the finish line, and that bird dog now learns how to do the deal. They earn while they learn. They get a commission or they get a finder's fee, and they get to be part of that deal. That was the original definition of a bird dog. Now there's a new definition out there that's being spread like wildfire, that to be a bird dog is to find a wholesaler that has a deal and find a buyer that wants to buy a deal, and you connect the two. Do you know why that doesn't work at all? Or very limited success? Number one, most wholesaler deals are terrible. Most of them. I unsubscribe for all the wholesaler deals because they never work. They're never profitable. They're never going to be good. All the flips that I do in my own business are my own deals that I get under contract. And then I go, oh shit, I've got $100,000 spread. I'm going to flip it. Okay. And we're going to talk about opportunity costs. We're going to talk about the cash flow conversion cycle here in a little bit. But like I always go, if I can make $30,000 on a wholesale deal or $60,000 on a flip, I will always make $30,000. But if I can make $30,000 on a wholesale deal or make 100 to 150 grand on a flip, then it's more worth my time. And that's the way you guys have to logically start thinking about deals that you're going to exit. Adrian, that's the headache way. Most wholesalers don't know how to lock up deals, and they are way overpriced for the buyer. Exactly right. So from a wholesaler side of things, most of the deals never work. And from a buyer perspective, if a new bird dog came to me and said, hey, Jeremy, what's your buy box? Do you know what I'm going to tell that bird dog? I'm going to tell them a unicorn of a buy box, because I don't want to waste my time with them bringing me really crappy deals that are maybe like a fine line within my buy box. No. I'm going to say, dude, you know what? I'm looking for 50% of value. If you can lock up that deal at 50% of current value, I will buy it from you right now, because I don't want to spend my time educating connectors or educating bird dogs on what a real deal is. So you've got buyers that don't say an honest buy box, and you've got wholesalers that don't know how to underwrite a deal if they hit them in the face. And now you've got these bird dogs in between that are not able to connect the deal. So they're spending a lot of time wasting time. And I say to those bird dogs, I say to you guys right now, if that's one of you, spend the time, instead of trying to connect with wholesalers and connect with buyers, drive around your neighborhood and find properties that have a broken window, or some of the shingles are coming off, or the grass is overgrown. Start identifying motivated properties that from an outer perspective might be distressed from the perspective of the house, but they might not be distressed financially. Maybe they're not going through foreclosure. A foreclosure list we can pull. You know what kind of list I can't pull? Overgrown grass, broken windows. So now you're actually pulling a list. You're actually building a list by driving for dollars that nobody else has this list. That's actually where a lot of deals come from. So while I'm door knocking on foreclosures, I will always stop. If I see a broken window, I will always stop at that house and knock on that door and just ask them if they're looking to sell their property. Does that make sense, guys? So I definitely got off on a tangent there. I apologize. I shouldn't have been talking about bird dogs and stuff like that. So as I was saying, what happens here is you get thin margins when you're dealing with on market. All right. The thin margin reality, here's the reality on this. On market spreads are usually small. There may be 5 to 10 grand is common. And honestly, 10 grand minimum should be the goal if you're wholesaling on market, because big spreads rarely do come from the MLS unless something is seriously off. You need to find an agent that maybe underpriced the property, or you might have to be the first person to connect with that agent. You got to be the right person at the right time, or you have to just get lucky and maybe the seller is willing to take your offer. Okay. So Irene says, what's a healthy assignment fee people should aim for? in a later slide, I'm going to go over this, but I'll give you a really, really easy way of looking at this. We want to identify margins, and at a bare minimum, you want to try to make a 30% margin. That is what you need to operate from if you're going to be building out and scaling a team. And I'm going to talk about this in more detail here. But if you're having to pay out, let's say you've got a full operation, you got a full team, you got acquisitions, transaction coordination, dispo, all of those people are going to get commissioned, right? They're going to get a fee. If the acquisitions locks up a deal, they're going to get anywhere between 6 to 10%. Dispo, same thing, 6 to 10%. Transaction coordination, they might be on a salary or they might be on a bonus structure. Or if you're lucky, you're actually going to push the transaction coordinator fee off to the buyer and they actually pay for that for you, which is actually a nice little thing. But ultimately, let's say you're already at 20% in commissions and you're making 30% margins. That means you're only making about 10% in profit. That's before you even pay yourself your salary. So 30% is what's minimum to be able to operate a proper functioning business. But what's the goal here is that let's say you're, and I'm really skipping ahead here. I'm going to go into this in just a second. If your cost per contract is $1,000 and you can make $3,000 on it, that's all you need to survive. You can and if you're a solopreneur, you're by yourself, guess what? $1,000 and you make $3,000 back. $1,000 of that goes to paying back the marketing. Now you've got $2,000 profit. You can now reinvest $1,000 more into more marketing. So now you're spending $2,000 on a deal. And if you can make 3x margins, so now you spend $1,000 to make 3, you spend $2,000 to make 6, you spend $4,000 to make 12. This is how you start to scale. Does that make sense, guys? And think about this for a second. If I'm able to make $25,000 on an average assignment fee, what should my average cost per contract be? About $7,000 to $8,000, right? I'll tell you right now, if you're spending $7,000 to $8,000 on a contract, you're not doing it right. Because most contracts right now are at about $2,000 to $3,000. So you're not making if you're making 25 grand, you're not making a 3x margin. You're making more like a 6x or a 7x margin, which is awesome. So that's what I want to get into here. So I'm sorry I skipped ahead. Yeah, Adrian, you say you push your TC cost to your buyer, and that's exactly what you should do. So guys, the simple logic here is that most people ignore. If the price was right, it would sell. So when it's not selling, it usually means that it's priced too high, or the condition is not matching the price, or the seller has low to no equity and they can't actually reduce their price. And that's really the whole story about deals that are on market. The only real advantage of the MLS is the low. Oops, I skipped ahead. It's the low hanging fruit. Let me go back to that real fast. So the contact info is there. It's free. It's the low hanging fruit. It's easy to start. That's it. It's not magic. It's just accessible. And that's what I want to break through to your brains. Okay. So here's where the pivot actually happens. Off market. Now let's pivot. So off market is direct to seller. Okay. No gatekeepers. You got bigger margins. You got less competition, more control. This is where you can actually build something that is repeatable. Why off market wins? Well, off market creates leverage, more opportunity, more flexibility, more motivation, and less competition. You can actually structure deals. You can solve real problems, and you're not bidding against every other investor that's refreshing Zillow repeatedly. Okay. And the other thing is, when you're dealing with other amateur wholesalers that are on Zillow, they're also giving above average offers because they're not good at whittling that down, because they're not dealing with the distressed seller. They're dealing with an agent that's gatekeeping. Okay. So the only exception I want to make here is agents are useful for one thing. The one exemption is, before you move on from working with agents, I want at least to shine some light on the value of working with the good ones. To be fair, agents are useful in only really one scenario. It's before the listing ever hits the MLS. Those are what we call pocket listings, and pre-market leads are freaking awesome when they come from agents that know you can actually close. So if an agent trusts you, they're going to bring you deals before the crowd even sees them. So Ava, I think, you know what, Ava, can you find the episode with Ray Rodriguez and put it in the chat real fast? So are you saying work by yourself, or you don't have the money, or are we talking a people right? Can you rephrase that? I'm sorry, I'm just not understanding what you mean. Isn't the NAR trying to stop pocket listings? They've always been trying to. I'm not going to say that, we're going to base our decisions off of that, but let's put it this way. Let's say I'm an agent and a seller comes to me and says, hey, you're an agent. My house is going to foreclosure in about 30 days. Do you think you can sell my house quickly? The agent's going to say, realistically, no, but I've got someone that can. That's it. At that point, they're not acting as an agent anymore. They're acting as a responsible investor or a friend to that person to help them sell their property. Do you just tell them you buy houses, or is there more to it? There is more to it. Obviously, creating a reputation. When we talked about sweat equity and things like, creating, going to networking events and stuff like that, that is the beginning stages, guys, of becoming an investor. You're going to want to go to your RIA events, your real estate investors associations, and start meeting people. One reason that some of you guys might not know this, I do a CE course. I do a continued education course here in Utah for all brokerages and all agents to actually get continued education hours and to get credits. And I teach them all about creative finance. I started doing that because I was getting sick and tired of agents not knowing what the hell they were doing. Honestly, it was like banging my head against a wall every conversation I had with them. But I also started doing that because I was creating more of a reputation that they were able to come to me to help their sellers overcome the problems they're facing. So now agents will bring me deals that are, I guess you can call them pocket listings. There's a deal, right? If I shot a potato gun from my house right now, I'd hit one of my rentals that I bought that property for $2,500. That was my down payment. And it's renting for $300 right now. I'm cash flowing $300. So in 10 months, that property became an infinite cash flow, infinite return. And I paid that agent around $5,000 to bring that to me. So $5,000 aside, $2,500 for the down payment. After 10 months, the initial investment paid itself back. After a year and a half, it's an infinite return. That's why working with an agent works. So Ava put the link in the chat, guys. Open that up right now on a separate tab. Put a pause on it. Don't get distracted right now. But that is an awesome episode with Ray Rodriguez. Ray is an awesome investor and a flipper in Vegas that I did an episode with him. This is how he does most of his deals. So it's not on market. But to answer your question, if you're going to do a deal with an agent, creating that reputation with them and starting to go to networking events that you're the person that can actually perform, that's what a pocket listing is. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. So let me just skip ahead. All right. So next slide. So this is the next fork in the road. This is the real separator. As I was talking about before, we've got on market versus off market. We've got traditional marketing versus sweat equity. This is the final fork in the road. This is the outbound versus the inbound. This is where most people build the wrong business model without actually realizing it. This is based off of primarily fear and a lack of capital. Okay. Most people that have capital, if you've ever run a business before, you're not as afraid of investing capital into marketing because you see it as an investment, not as an expense, right? It's an asset rather than a liability. If I could spend $50,000 a month, which I have many, many times, if I could spend $50,000 a month, but also know that I'll make $150,000 off of that 50 at bare minimum, it's an investment. It's an asset. It's not a liability. Okay. So outbound definition, this is the examples of outbound. This is things like cold calling, SMS. This is more broad mail, right? So you're actually sending mailers out to like zip codes, not just, not specific addresses. These are things like door knocking. These are also things like door hangers. Door knocking, I'll be honest with you though, if you are being a sniper while you're door knocking, you're actually pulling foreclosure lists and you're door knocking foreclosures. I don't see that being the same thing. But if you're like a real estate agent, you're just knocking on doors saying, hey, are you thinking about selling your property? That's outbound. Okay. You've created contact and you're hoping the timing is just perfect and just there, or that you can nurture it until the timing actually shows up. Inbound, these are examples of inbound. So Google ads, PPC, what we call PPL or pay per lead. This is just a separation of PPC versus PPL. PPC is when you're running your own campaign. you are either doing it yourself in-house or you have a marketing campaign manager that's helping you build out your PPC campaigns. This is a lot more expensive. I will be honest with you guys. If any marketing PPC manager tells you that you can start for under $5,000, they are lying to you and trying to take your money. Okay. To be very clear, you want to try to come in above 5,000, more like 8,000 to 10,000 a month for a PPC campaign. Because when you're running your own campaign, you are actually bidding against other top buyers like me in that current market, in that specific market. PPL, on the other hand, this is the saving grace. If you're doing PPL, say yes in the chat. I'm curious who's doing PPL right now. And if you're doing PPC, say PPC. If you're doing PPC, you probably don't need to be here. PPL, guys, this is pay per lead. All right. Pay per lead is you are actually using a service, and we have a number of them that we work with that does nationwide. And when they do nationwide, they start taking your money and they put it into a giant pool to be able to lower that cost down lower and lower and lower. So instead of you having to put $5,000 to $10,000 into a campaign per month, you can buy them lead by lead. Just like a water faucet, you can turn it on and you can turn it off. You can make it hot, you can make it cold. You could determine how many leads you're going to get into your system based off of what you want to set your budget for. If you want to get 10 leads a month, awesome. If you want to get 20, awesome. Depending on what market you're in, you're going to be anywhere from around $100 to maybe $500 cost per lead. In a super, super hot market, it's going to be more expensive. In an easier market, it's going to be less. Just so I know, am I saying, I want to pronounce it right. Is it dual or is it duel? Say one or two, just so I know. I'm assuming duel, but I don't want to be stupid. If I'm saying it right, just say you're saying it right. Duel. I'm just going to assume duel. So duel, you are cold calling right now. The question I have for you is, are you cold calling off market or are you cold calling on market? Okay. If you're cold calling off market, the next step is going to be hiring a virtual assistant to actually be put onto a multi-line dialer, right? We've talked about that before. It's kind of the stages of you're a solopreneur, then you want to start scaling effectively. But my goal right now from this call is if I can get you guys to, if you have capital to invest, rather than wasting time on putting someone into a multi-line dialer and cold calling, I'm going to explain to you why inbound marketing actually has a lot more value. Okay. So we talk about this. We talk about crawl, walk, and run. So here's the progression that I want you guys to remember. And this is all based on budget. Crawl is your sweat equity path, AKA you have zero money for systems. This is where a lot of people begin, but because the entire appeal of wholesaling comes from being that you can do it without your own money and without your own credit, that is where this comes in from. And like I said before, this is true. You can do it, but it also brings people with very little experience on running an actual business. So they stay in this stage for way too long, if not forever. And that's where they eventually burn out. My goal, again, by the end of this, by you writing down how many mornings you guys have left, you're going to start having fear control you less and actually making more logical decisions. So instead of staying in the sweat equity path, in the crawling phase, I want you guys to be more okay with being in the walking phase or being in even the running phase. Walking are things like outbound systems. You have some money for systems. This is where most of my students start because it's either the first stage in really building out the processes that can be repeated without you. This is like getting the right software, starting with a CRM, hiring or integrating PropStream. Okay, so you can actually start using comping services to get the right data. These are the things you actually have to do to build a real business. If you are broke as broke can be and you're not spending any money right now, I pray you get your first deal fast because you're not going to stay doing this long. You're going to burn out. So as I said, run is the inbound demand. You are finally able to invest in marketing. You finally start talking to the right leads. You're having the right conversations and you're finding the right motivation and making the most amount of profit that you can possibly make. When you're doing inbound, these are the people that are raising their hand saying, I am looking to sell my house now. Can you make me an offer? You can be successful with all of these, but where do you think most of the contracts come from? I don't even need you to type this out. It's inbound leads. This is where the big boys are. For all of us that are making 6 digits plus per month, it's all inbound. If we ever do outbound, it's to kind of just what do I want to call it? Offset. Maybe we just generate some leads. I have like a VA that's cold calling, and these leads are going to be nurtured for 6 to 12 months, but inbound is where it all comes from. This is where I want to talk about the trap, okay? If you guys have been a student of mine in the past, you guys already know the value of this. Here's the value, guys. CPL. Who knows what CPL stands for? It's cost per lead. Cost per lead. In this business, cost per lead is the first metric that we measure. This is how much a lead costs. And it also relates to how much it costs to get an actual contract. If your cost per lead is, say, $100 and it costs you 10 leads to get a contract, that contract just costs you $1,000, right? So let me ask you this. I want to hear it in the chat. Would you say that cost per lead being low is better or worse for this business? Cost per lead being low, being better or worse? If you're a student, you already know the answer. Okay. Ignacio says better. Adrian says better. No, if you're my student, you're staying quiet. Here's the truth, guys. It doesn't matter at all what your cost per lead is. It does not matter. Okay. When we talk about cost per lead being higher or lower, the only relationship that you need to have between what's better or worse is if you're cold calling in, say, Detroit, or you're cold calling in, say, or no, not even cold calling. You're running SMS in Detroit. Okay. If one of those are lower cost per lead, then it's better. But if it's outbound versus inbound, it does not matter because it comes into what cost per contract is. So CPL is the wrong obsession. Cheap leads can be expensive, but you have to look at the cost per contract and the actual time it takes to close, not just the cost per lead. So here's a classic example. All right. So outbound leads might be around $40. I think that's pretty much average right now. So outbound leads, this is for cold calling and SMS, might be around $40. This is, again, if you're free, if you're doing this for free and you're calling Zillow, all it's taking is your time. But if you are using a multi-line dialer and you are having a VA that's actually making those calls for you, it costs money, right? So outbound leads might be around $40 and inbound might be around $200. Alex says, cash conversion cycle of outbound way longer, but cheaper. Exactly right, Alex. You've learned the right way so far. So as I always said, average for outbound being 40, average for inbound being, say, 200. So beginners look at that and they panic and they say that inbound is way too expensive. Like, why would they ever spend $200 on a lead? How could they ever do that? But that's a surface level type of thinking. So why beginners pick outbound? Beginners pick outbound because it feels safer. They have low confidence and as I forgot who was asking that question earlier, but they said, like, is it expensive? I'm scared to invest in inbound marketing. That's because you have low confidence. Low confidence makes expensive leads sound scary. It feels like they're risking less if they were doing outbound, like even when the math says that they're not. You want to know why most people that have capital to build a business never actually invest in that business? Because they don't have the strong system of sales and closing or even know how to structure the right offers to actually support that. That's where a lot of my students really start to get the value from this, that if we build out an offer system and a comping system and an analyzing and underwriting system and all of that stuff, and you actually have a process in place that can actually help you give offers and get deals under contract, it doesn't matter what the cost is. Because if you have the ability to close a deal that costs you $200, but you're able to make $20,000 from it, it makes more sense. Okay. So, really good example. Irene says, I've got a full-time job and I don't even know if I have the time to do outbound. Okay, Irene, awesome question. Brandon Legg, are you in here, Brandon? Brandon is in here. Brandon is one of my students. Okay, Brandon, if you're at work, don't unmute yourself, buddy. Brandon is law enforcement. He's a sheriff's deputy in Washington. Brandon is one of my students, and he knew right from the start that he works full-time. And you also understand that, like, when you're a cop, you're working really crazy hours. Sometimes you're working nights, sometimes you're working days. And so he just went all in with me and said, like, Jeremy, would it be okay if I just went right into inbound? So Brandon has already closed one deal with me in Washington. I think you have another deal right now under contract in Mississippi. I have no idea what the estimated contract is going to be on that one. What's your estimated profit on that? What do you think it's going to be? I haven't even talked to him about that. 20,000 ish, or hopefully it's not $20. So Brandon's going to make about 20,000 ish from that deal. That is because Brandon understands that he has no time because he's got a full-time job. So just like Irene, you said that you've got a full-time job. If I can help you by building out an offer system and an actual tracking system and all that stuff, it makes this a lot easier. Does that make sense, guys? Does that help, Irene? So let's move on real quick. Brandon, yeah, after this, we're going to hop on a call about getting you some buyers for that, okay? So, all right. So, guys, leads. Leads needed per contract. So here's the part that matters. Leads required to get one contract. Outbound is roughly 100 leads. Inbound is roughly around 20. You can be better at closing and actually get below that 20. For myself, I'm right around 8 to 10 quality leads. I'll get a deal. But for the sake of argument, I don't want to assume everyone's really, really good. So we're going to go based off of 20 inbound leads and 100 outbound leads. So that's the workload difference. So cost per contract. Now watch this. Same cost, different workload. 100 leads times 40 is $4,000. 20 leads times 200 is also $4,000. This is the same amount of money, but can completely change the chaos and the follow-up sequence that ensues. Because those 20 leads are way quicker to close. These are people raising their hand today that are looking for an offer today, right? Now, those 100 outbound leads, what are the chances of that person actually saying that today's the day that they want to sell their property, especially at a discount? Very, very low. So the real difference comes into time. Time is the deciding factor here. Outbound is slow money. You're looking at 6 to 12 months of actual follow-up, sometimes more because the timing is rarely perfect when you interrupt that person's day. Inbound is more about fast money. Inbound closes faster. 30 to 60 days is a pretty typical cycle because the seller is already searching for that solution. They are already looking for an offer and they're going to an investor like you because they typically don't want to put it on market. They're already leaning in, so the deal moves a lot faster. And Ignacio, a 12-month follow-up sounds crazy. Welcome to this business, bro. I've got thousands of leads in my system and in my follow-up. And thank God AI exists now to kind of help with that. But prior to that point, my lead managers, that was their job. We would qualify the call when it would came in, okay? And it would be like, are you looking to sell now or in the next 60 days? And they say, no, I'm looking to sell 6 months to a year from now, or maybe next spring, or maybe when my daughter goes off to college. So our job is to follow up with that person until the timing is right. But inbound, the timing is right because they're going to you for an offer right then and there. Okay? So here's the cold call reality check. And like I said before, it's people that are going to be getting a cold call from you very rarely are looking to sell their property at a discount right then and there. What inbound looks like, inbound sellers have self-identified their own motivation. They're literally typing things like, who buys houses near me? Who stops a foreclosure? I need an offer fast. That's not convincing them that they have a problem. They've already realized it. They're already problem aware, and now they're looking for a solution. And that's marketing 101, guys, right? Do you think that like a toothpaste manufacturer is advertising their toothpaste before somebody realizes what a cavity is? No. Problem aware, then they make the solution be the next stage. Okay. So, Dom, are you able to tell us who you like best for pay per lead services? I can. Yeah, absolutely. I can also hop on a call with you and share that with you as well. I've got a few different ones that I'm happy to do, and I can also put in the link. And if you guys want to, you know what? Let me just do this real fast. Here. This is the first PPL provider. Use that link. You can set up an account with them right now for free. You don't even have to schedule a call with them. And you could actually start identifying what the cost per lead is in a specific county that you're looking for. So that's actually a value. I've done this before in the past, before with these workshops, where we literally did an exercise together of finding your primary market. So like right now, if you guys want to know, like, let's say you're in St. Louis or you're in, I don't know, Michigan, wherever it is. If you create an account with motivated sellers, as soon as you press go, you can actually start filtering in and seeing what the cost per lead would be in that perfect county. And so again, what I always say to everybody, if we're trying to decide on a virtual market, we want to go, all right, if this market is $300 cost per lead with an average sale price for the house of 300,000, and this one average sale price for a house is 300,000, but the lead cost is 150, the 150 is better. You're going to get more bang for your buck. So that's the market you want to invest in. Does that make sense, Dom? Okay. So yeah, feel free to do that. Don't get distracted right now, guys. I'm almost done. I want to keep, bashing through this. So as we were talking about before, the cash conversion cycle. So the number one reason that inbound wins is the cash conversion cycle. It's how fast your marketing dollars actually come back in. If you are having to follow up with someone for 6 to 12 months before a deal closes, how long did it take you? Sergio, you can listen to this all day. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. My voice is angelic, apparently. I hope you put my podcast on to go to sleep and wake up as your alarm. Anyway, sorry. So as I was saying, cash conversion cycle, this is how long it takes you for every dollar in, how long it takes you to get a dollar back. Inbound marketing is always the fastest cash conversion cycle. And as I mentioned before, whether you wholesale a deal or flip a deal, that also determines your cash conversion cycle. If I can make $30,000 on a wholesale deal in less than 2 weeks versus I make $100,000 in a year, I would rather make that $30,000 because I know I can take that 30, reinvest it into more marketing, and that 30 becomes 60. That 60 becomes 90. That 90 becomes 120. And it grows and it grows and it grows from there. Does that make sense, guys? Last year, we were doing 1 month was like $360,000 in profit, not revenue, in profit. And then a few months before that, we were at 250 or something like that. So getting months like that comes from inbound marketing and not getting distracted by creative finance. I'll promise you that right now. Okay. All right. So as I said, cash conversion comparison. So speed of investment, outbound is a slow return. Inbound is a fast return, and speed is what lets you compound. Slow money makes you feel broke even when you're super working hard. The last thing I want to say is your burnout, team sanity. If you guys are looking to ever scale a team, if you guys have team members, put it in the chat right now. I'm curious if anyone actually has people working for them or working with them. One, Adrian. Who's that person? Is that person a VA cold caller or are they lead manager? What are they? John, me, a VA. Are they cold calling or are they lead managing?
Cold calling, and they help me with social media.
Awesome. I've got VAs on my team all about social media. I'm not doing so much cold calling anymore, inbound primarily only. And I'm also doing deals with my students. But yeah, if you have people working for your team, here's the one advantage to a VA. VAs are typically on hourly or salary. When you have somebody that's based off of commission and they're not closing the deals that they're hoping for, that's where burnout actually happens. And so what I'm always very scared of is if I'm generating a bunch of outbound leads that are going to take 6 to 12 months of follow-up, and I'm hoping that those deals close, that acquisition manager is going to burn out and you are going to burn out. And that's where we see a lot of churn rate. We see a lot of employees that will start and they go, oh, I was expecting that I was going to close more deals faster. Inbound, when an inbound lead comes in, that's a real lead, they go, hell yeah, I'm the first to answer that. If you have it on a round robin where it goes to, one person at a time, or if everybody's phone rings at the same time, they fight to be the one to answer that because if they're answering it first and that's an inbound lead, they're the ones that get to close that. And most inbound leads close within under 5 phone calls. I don't always want to say they close in the first call. They typically close within the second or the third, and there might be a couple of follow-ups after that, but it's under 5 phone calls. For outbound, you're over a dozen easily. And also, by the way, inbound, they have more motivation to actually answer your call. Outbound, they don't answer numbers they don't know. Okay. So you create a relationship, your rapport gets built faster. And so again, I think by this point, I should just be done hammering this home. So team sanity is what it is. Inbound opportunities. I'm just going to kind of breeze through this. Inbound energizes your team. It makes your team close more deals faster. You also make more profit. Dominic, one of my students as well, same thing. The guy, he lives off commission. He does roof repairs. And so when he started with me, he's like, listen, bro, I know right away that I'm not going to be good at outbound follow-up. Can you just help me get started on inbound? So we started an inbound campaign. He's here in Utah, but he started in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I think his first deal was like 27 grand. And he got it in like less than 60 days. That's the goal here, guys. That's the reality here. Okay. So close rate insights. We've talked about CPL. We've talked about CPC, but there's one more metric that I want to cover real fast. I'm not going to go deep dive on that. That is going to be called your close rate. So here's a pop quiz question. All right. If you close 100% of your contracts, is that good or bad? You're closing 100% of your contracts. Is that good or bad? Put it in the chat. Good or bad? Closing 100%. Jason is one of my students. Ignacio, good? Question mark. Bad. Dom, I hope it's good. Adrian. David Humes, overpaid. Well, technically speaking, you're not overpaying if the deal never closes, right, David? So if you're closing 100% of your deals, guys, it means you are being too conservative. It means you're only giving offers to the home run deals that you know you can close, that you're not scared to close. Like, oh, a seller wants to sell at 50% commission or 50% value, send them the contract. That's going to close. But what if your maximum allowable offer was 250 and the seller would not go below 255? Do you get that contract? The answer is, it depends. Yes, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And that determines your close rate. I want you guys to be at about a 75% close rate. That means, the truth be told, out of every 10 contracts you get signed, you should be at about 7.5 of those contracts, 75%, are actually going to get over the finish line and close. Because there's going to be some deals that closing is just not going to, the numbers aren't going to make sense, but they're like, listen, Dom, if you don't give me the number I'm looking for right now, I'm going to sign with your competition right now. Do you say no? Do you say, well, oh, well, good luck? Or do you say, all right, let's sign the contract. And then whose responsibility is it past that point? It's dispo. Now, if you have a team, your dispo manager is going to fucking hate you. Okay. Because your dispo manager is like, damn it, dude. MAO is 250 and you lock this up at 255. You already know that we're overpriced. So now you want me to blast out a deal to all of our buyers list and hope we find one? The answer is yes. That's what I want you to do. That is what you should be doing. Because it is up to the buyers list to determine there might be someone out there. Maybe there's a flipper that doesn't have another project lined up and he's got to keep his contractors working. He's got to keep them fed. And if he doesn't keep them fed and they're about to wrap up a project this week, they're going to go to another contract or they're going to go to another job and they're going to leave him. He needs to find another project. So he might be willing to pay more, $5,000 more for a deal if it means that he gets to keep his contractors at a cheaper price. Does that make sense, guys? So there you go. Yes, you get it now. That is the goal here, guys. We want to be at about a 75%. And the same thing goes. If you're at a 50% close rate, what does that mean? It means you are too aggressive, you're giving out too many offers, or you don't know how to underwrite your numbers correctly. And you got to get better at comping and underwriting. Make sense, guys? Okay. So as I said, let me skip ahead here. So margins, this is the hidden killer. When actually building a team, here's the hidden actual killer. Margins. You've got to pay commissions, right? And I already talked about that. Outbound needs bigger spreads to survive. As I talked to you before, are you going to be making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dials for 6 to 12 months until a deal closes? You might be willing to do that for one deal, but eventually you're going to burn out yourself. You're not going to be able to actually build a business because you're going to be so in the phone calls that it doesn't make it possible. So if you're trying to ever scale a business, if you're ever trying to get a lead manager or an acquisition manager or a disposition manager, you need to start making bigger spreads. We talked about that before. A 3x margin is the bare minimum to survive. But if you're making only a 3x margin and you've got to pay out 20 to 25% commissions, your profit, you're not able to reinvest back into your business. You're not able to scale your business. So you need to make more like 6x margins. That's why outbound becomes a little bit more of a business killer, where inbound becomes more realistic. So this is the multiplier problem. Okay, we talked about this just a second ago. This is the scaling math. Outbound usually needs around a 3x margin, bare minimum, to scale cleanly. Inbound can scale around 1.5x margin. That is very true. If you're a solopreneur and all you're doing is running inbound, think about this for a second, guys. You've got a CRM you're paying for once a month, and that CRM has a built-in AI process that follow-ups with leads. It nurtures those leads. It will set tasks for you. It will set reminders for you. It will even send text messages or even outbound call with an AI voice agent to just say, hey, Dom, just checking in. I know you said you weren't thinking about selling for 60 days. I know it's only been 30. Just wanted to see if something changed. If something changed, then that lead gets passed off to you, Dom, the actual acquisition manager, okay? The actual closer. So that's where someone like Brandon or someone like Dominic, when they're working their full-time jobs, they're able to, if they can step away for a minute and they can answer that phone call when an inbound lead comes in and they can qualify that lead, that is why you can run way slimmer in this business by running inbound. So here's the foundation metaphor. Just so you guys don't build a skyscraper on mud, bad marketing logic is a shaky foundation. You can add more tactics, more tools, more hires, and it still won't stand if the foundation is wrong. So this is where I want to just mention this. Marketing is what makes real money, not motivation, not vibes, but pure logic. The end. That is it. So, hi, everybody. Welcome back. What are our thoughts right now? Any questions at all, guys? Please tell me you have some questions. Is scaling mostly about fixing up marketing or fixing to market? No. Scaling is about hiring, delegating, and then marketing effectively. Remember, in this business, Irene, it's a sales and a marketing business. Sales and marketing. All right. So before I lose you guys, though, Irene, I think it was you that asked, or maybe it was no. Ignacio says the mistake is jumping into tactics too fast. No, the mistake that most people make are that they are following what YouTube says too fast, and they're not understanding the actual metrics. Like Adrian here, Adrian's been in other communities. He's also a regular in this call. And Adrian is talking to leads. He's talking to sellers. He's giving offers and stuff like that. And Adrian probably knows better than most people here. If you've never talked to a seller, it is not as easy as YouTube makes it sound. Okay. So guys, we covered a lot today. Did you guys get anything from this? Type 1 if you guys feel confident with what I just taught you guys and like maybe even doing this alone. And type 2 if you'd like to maybe do this together and learn more about the next semester that I'm launching next week. Ivan, you said 1. Okay. Jason, 2. Julie, 2. Ignacio, 2. Hey, I like seeing these 2s. Caroline, 1. Dom Glass, 1, but always want to learn about 2. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you for giving me permission. Hold on. Oh, Chase Hogan is coming in super, super late. I just let him in for the waiting room. Chase Hogan, you just got in here and it's the very end. I'm just getting into, you can watch the recording here, but I'm just getting into the next semester on what it's going to look like to work together. So just bear with me. Sorry you're here late. So anyway, as I said, guys, I'm really stoked for this. Ava, can you put the wait list in the chat again real fast? As I said to you guys before, if you guys put your name on the wait list, I'm going to do 2 things. Number 1, I'm going to be texting you guys in about 30 minutes past this point with a link for my calendar. I really want to, and I really want to urge you guys to be able to book a call. At bare minimum, I'm going to spend 15 minutes with you guys. Even if it's not the right fit, I'm going to spend 15 minutes with you guys to help answer any questions and help give you guys kind of like a 90-day action plan. That is my offer to you guys no matter what. And then at the end of that, I'll talk about more about this semester, about starting next week, and if it's something for you. But right now, I'm only looking for, what is that right now? Hold on. Who is this? well, that's a large thing to hold on. Jennifer, hold on real quick. Let me move the chat over to a separate thing. It's kind of combobulated. Hold on. I'd like a recommendation for a VA that helps with social media. It's okay to ask for recommendations for AI CRM. I'm like Irene and others who work full time. Yeah. Okay. Before we get distracted, I do want to talk about the next semester, guys, but real quick, this is Resimply. This is the CRM that we use and our students use. This also has like a discount link to it as well. Resimply, I've played around with so many CRMs. My students have. Some of you guys might even know I used to own a VA company where we had well over 100 clients at a given time. We actually had a building in Zambales, Philippines, and we also dealt with a lot of CRMs for all of our students. Resimply, hands down, is an amazing CRM. It's extremely robust. Sharad, the founder, also was previously an accountant. So he integrates your bank account into it as well, just like QuickBooks. So you can start to track what your cost per lead is, all of your expenses and all of that kind of stuff. Really, really robust system. So again, don't get distracted right now. Click on the link, open it up into a separate tab and come back to it later. And they also have AI. And then yes, is the next semester when we start to work together? Yes, it is. It's more of a cohort series, and I'll share that in just a second. So let me do that real quick. Hold on real fast. Let me do this. Let me open up this real quickly. Give me 5 seconds, guys. Sorry. So I shared this with some of you guys last week as kind of a preview, but I'm really excited to show you guys everything. Okay. All right. So, as I was saying before, let me explain to you why I have not opened up a semester in a while. It's been probably about 3 or 4 months since I've opened up a semester. And the reason is that I was working with all of my students and I was doing deals with my students and trying to get them over the finish line. And what that prevented me from doing was actually building out the modules in my semesters. And the other thing I realized was I built out the entire varsity semesters. I built out the freshman, the sophomore, the junior, and the senior. It was everything. It was creative finance. It was building and scaling and all of that kind of stuff. And I realized that it was a higher ticket price, and it was also not for everybody because not everybody has a lot of capital to invest. So what I decided to do was I built out probably the most robust package possible that is just the freshman semester. And I'll share my screen in just a second here. But what I really want to get into is the freshman semester does not include creative finance. And there's a specific reason for that. I feel that if for a new wholesaler, creative finance becomes toxic to a wholesale operation. All of my students understand this is because if you are trying to lock up a deal with creative finance, it becomes a less abrasive conversation to say, well, what if I can give you more for the property? The lifeblood of this business is all about finding your cash deals. And that's what the freshman semester is about. It's about building the foundations. It's about building your marketing. It's about building your operations correctly. And then once you start doing deals and you start bringing in $10, $20, $50,000 a month, you can afford to now buy creative deals. Like, let me ask you this. If a subject to deal comes along and it's a $50,000 entry fee, are you able to buy that? The answer is no. What if you had $50,000 in your bank account? Is buying a subject to deal that will cash flow you maybe $200 a month? You're making $200 a month, but you just gave up $50,000 to make that 200. That is not a good investment in your business. So I've said this many times before, even on my operation side, I don't talk about creative finance in front of the children, AKA my acquisition team, because the minute they start learning about creative offers, they stop giving cash offers. So the freshman year is built all around that. The other thing that I want to preface real quick is I'm not going to share on this right now. I'm not going to share what the tuition is. The reason I'm not going to do that is because I want to make this work for everybody here. I really, really mean this. My goal is not to take even a single dollar from anybody's bank account if it means that they're not going to be able to invest in the proper systems and in the proper marketing. My goal in the freshman semester is I'm going to give you guys the tools, the systems, the resources, and the community to start actually doing deals. And if I was going to be an asshole and be like, I'm going to take all of your money for tuition and now you can't afford any of those systems, I just shot you in the foot. My goal for this semester, why I am doing this, is I want to have the right people join at the right time so you guys can help me actually build this community. I'm willing to discount your tuition if you promise that what you're going to actually do is deals, and you're going to help me grow this by testimonials, by, actually proof of concepts that other people can see that this community is something of value. Is that fair, guys? So I want to ask real quick, once more, how many days do you guys have left? Okay. We did that before in this exercise. So I'm going to share my screen right now. So this is the entire series. Okay. This is the contracts, the scripts, the calculators. This is everything. This is the freshman, the sophomore, the junior, the senior. We've got comping, underwriting, sales objections, live trainings, all that stuff. The freshman semester alone are 8 weeks, 51 modules that are actual like assignments and curriculum. My goal was not to throw you guys into a pool with a bunch of other guppies. Brandon, thank you, buddy. I can vouch for that. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. My goal is to get you guys trained and get you guys actually taking action every single day to build a proper system. When I went to school to get my business degree, there is no real estate investing degree. There is nothing that teaches you about this. This is my goal, is to get you guys to build your business out correctly. In addition to that, it's got all of the contracts. It's got oh, by the way, we've got our deal underwriting GPT. We've got our Dispo Manager GPT. This is going to help you structure the offers, build out all of your pitch decks, all of that stuff. We've got multiple calculators. We've got multiple scripts. We've got all of our trackers and our checklists. These are all of the things that are in the freshman semester. There's a lot here to go over, okay? So as I explained to you guys before, why I'm separating the freshman semester is because I want you guys to gain traction early on. And the varsity semesters, the only way you get access to them is by being a freshman student. Okay. So let me skip ahead real quick. I got a couple notes right here. If you're already a student, like Brandon already said, Dominic said, there's absolute value there. Here's the bonus I want to give you guys. Sorry, I'm definitely nervous here. This is my first time actually pitching this. This is not what I'm normally doing. Normally, I hop on phone calls with people and I just tell them what it is. This is definitely not normal for me, so I apologize. So this is the special offer I have for you guys. This is something that's really, really cool. I was told I'm not allowed to tell what company it was, but a very, very reputable PPL company is partnering with the investor semester, and they are going to be providing us opt-in leads. They're going to be providing us inbound leads, and get ready for this. So normally we talked about inbound leads costing between $100 to $300. This company is giving us leads that are those one-off leads. So we talked about PPL. What I didn't talk about is PPL. You can actually get refunded your leads if it's like on market, or if it's land, or if it's a mobile home, things like that. What we are able to do right now is I'm able to get you guys a list of fresh leads every single day that are going to be under $10 per lead. Okay. And these are going to be off market. They're going to be on market. They might be mobile homes. They might be land deals. They might even be the right house, but maybe not the right name that's matching on title. That's all the things we're going to be finding out right now, but it's nationwide. So this is my way of getting you guys to get leads that you're going to be able to train on and get your cost per lead and your cost per contract to be way, way lower. Other coaches right now are giving out call center leads that are really just nothing more than cold call leads that have been recycled over and over and over again. Brandon says nationwide is actually kind of fun. Brandon is doing nationwide. That's how he's able to get Mississippi and Washington. But it also means you're talking to more motivated people. So as I said, it could be land, it could be mobile homes, it could be a different name on title. But instead of this company that we're working with, instead of throwing them away like they normally do, they want to give them to you guys. So as I said, I'm getting them all for under $10. This is for practice, that once they're ready, once you guys are ready, I'm going to be dripping them out to you guys. We built out a system about 10 to 25 leads a day. So you're not going to be getting 500 leads all at once. You're going to be getting 10 to 25 a day, depending on what you want your rhythm to be, that will give you the time to, hey, let me make 10 calls a day. That's it. You don't have to sit down for hours. Like, that's the goal, is make those calls. The next morning, your inbox, you're going to open up another file. That's 10 more addresses, 10 more phone numbers, and it already comes skip traced. Okay. This is the bonus I'm going to give you guys. Becoming a student, I'm giving you guys up to 500 of these for free, each of you. I mean that. I'm getting hooked up and I want to pass that on to you guys. All right. So if you're on the fence, I'm able to get you guys these leads for free. And I've got one more final bonus that I want to make this a no-brainer. If you become a freshman student and you have the goal to level up and become a varsity student, I will actually apply the tuition that you paid to be part of this community to being the varsity. So if you ever want to upgrade and start wanting to get more one-on-ones with me and actually start doing more creative finance, that's what that is. Ivan, thank you. I think Ivan is on the wait list right now. So I want to make this so that success becomes easy and making the tough decisions become easy. So how many days do you guys have left? Hopefully today is the start of making that change. In the next 30 minutes, guys, if your name is not on that list, oh well, no worries. But I'm going to text each and every one of you guys in about 30 minutes. I want you guys to book a call if you are serious. Like I said, I want to make this work for you guys financially. And if I can't, I will still help you with these free calls that we're doing every single Friday. I still want to get you to that point. I'm looking for people that are motivated, people that have some money that they can devote towards systems and marketing. And if I can help you guys find your deals and grow this community together, that's my goal. Okay? Is that fair, guys? Ignacio, thank you. This was really nice. I appreciate that, Ignacio. Guys, and like I said, if you haven't put this on your calendar yet, we're going to be doing deep dives like this every single Friday. This is the start to the next semester. I don't know when the next semester is going to be after this, but I want to try to get in as many people. I think we have, at this moment right now, I think we had 34 people on the wait list. We've been talking about this for a few weeks now. So like I said, I'm going to blast out to all of you guys in about 30 minutes, all the people that are on the wait list. And then I want you guys to book a time with me as soon as possible. We'll hop on a 15-minute call. We'll see if it's the right fit. You'll get a free strategy session with me, and then we'll go from there. Okay? I love it. I can't wait either. I mean this, guys. And I'm sorry that I was so awkward towards the end there. I got to get better at pitching this. It's so weird. I'm so used to giving away, like, and helping people and helping train and stuff like that. But I honestly feel fucking awkward asking for money. It just doesn't make, it's so weird. I can close deals with my eyes closed, and I love it, and I'm good at it, and I teach my students to do the same. If you guys have ever heard my live calls, you know that I lock up deals. But when it comes to actually saying like, hey guys, join my community, I guess maybe I just feel insecure. I feel because it's still in the early stages and it's not like a blossoming community like I've come from. I still feel insecure about that. But nonetheless, guys, you guys being here and sticking with me means a lot to me. It really does. Yeah. Sorry. I feel awkward. All right. I'm going to run now. Guys, thank you very much. Message me if you need anything. And then, like I said, in about 30 minutes, I'll be reaching out to each and every one of you guys. Okay, guys? All right. One more time. I'm going to put the link in the chat. One more time, Ava, just in case. There's the link, guys. One more time. And thank you, Julie. I'm the only one that noticed. I appreciate that. No, it's, I could teach, but then, God, it feels so awkward. Crosby, thank you. I listen, I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it, guys. Like I said, I really want to try to grow this community, and like, I have a lot of passion in that, and I have a lot of fear at the same time. And even though I'm talking about like, how many days do you have left? Right? I have limited days left too. And so for me, building out a community that I can do more deals with my students, that's my goal. And side note, while you guys are logging off and tuning me out, a lot of people always ask me that, like, you know, why am I building out this community? And it's because I'm sick and tired of, honestly, just scaling businesses. Scaling an acquisition team, scaling a wholesale operation becomes very tiresome. And I'll just kind of peel back the curtain one more time for you guys. When you are training acquisitions to do what you do and they become good at it, they become your competition. They will eventually leave and they will start operating a wholesale operation in your market, and they become your competition. So for me, instead of repeating the same process over again, training my competition over and over again, I just realized, you know what? Why don't I train my students instead? I get to do deals with my students. We all make money together, and then I grow a really awesome community that's based off of like ethics and actual like doing things the right way. That's my goal. So, okay. Awesome, guys. Last chance, click on that link and I will see you guys. I'll text you guys in 30 minutes. Like I said, I'm going to have limited seats available. Book that time as soon as you possibly can. It might even be over the weekend if you want. I'm happy to do that. I just want to talk to as many of you guys as possible so that next week, next Friday, after this call that we're doing, we're going to have the freshman orientation and actually get started. Okay, guys, that's starting next week. So awesome, guys. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, everybody. We will talk soon. Bye, guys.